Before candy, before costumes, before fog machines and porch lights, there was only fire. The ancient Celts called this night Samhain, the turning of the year, when the light half gave way to the dark half. It wasn't just the end of harvest, it was the end of safety. They believed the sun god was dying, and to honor him, they built vast bonfires across the hills. Some even rolled burning wills down slopes, a symbol of the fading sun, descending into winter's death. But this was more than ceremony, it was survival, because on this night, the veil between worlds thinned, and the dead came home. They wore animal hides and masks to fool wandering spirits, and left bowls of milk and barley on doorsteps to buy peace, and watched the flames for omens. If a spark leaped high, the gods were pleased. If smoke turned against the wind, it meant something had followed you home. Samhain wasn't about celebration, it was about making peace with death. When the Romans conquered Celtic lands, they folded their own festivals into Samhain, Feralia, a day to honor the dead, and Pomona, goddess of fruit and orchards, and that's why we still bob for apples on Halloween. Later, the church renamed the festival All Hallows Eve, placing All Saints' Day on November 1st, a deliberate move to overwrite pagan fire with holy light. It was a pattern that had already worked before. The Romans' Lemuria, a May ritual for restless spirits, was repurposed as a Christian day of remembrance. The church simply moved it to the season of Samhain. But the people never stopped lighting fires. They never stopped leaving food for ghosts. And so, the two faiths, old and new, merged. By the Middle Ages, children and the poor roamed door to door, souling, offering prayers for souls in purgatory in exchange for soul cakes. They even sang verses like, "Soul, soul, for a soul cake. Pray, you good mistress, a soul cake." Each knock on a door was both a prayer and a bargain. In Ireland and Scotland, geysers and mass began demanding gifts instead of prayers. And that's how the tradition of trick-or-treating began, a perfect blend of charity, mischief, and superstition. Every Samhain, when the veil opened, the Celts believed beings from the other world walked freely among them. The Isshi, the people of the mounds, descendants of ancient gods, vanished underground. Milk and honey were left at hill doors to appease them, for they were not evil, but not merciful either. Then came the Dullahan, the headless rider whose whip was made from a human spine. Wherever he stopped, death soon followed. The Banshee wept for families before anyone else knew someone would die. Her cry wasn't a curse, it was a warning. The Puka stalked the harvest fields, taking the last uncut sheaf as his due. Farmers left milk for him, or he would ruin the next year's crop. And above the marshes glowed will-o'-the-wisps, souls of the unbaptized, leading travelers astray with blue fire. Even bats, those creatures of the night, earned their legend here. They swarmed around Samhain bonfires, feeding on insects drawn to the flame. People watched them circle and thought, their spirits returned to feed on the living. All of them, real or not, existed to remind the living this was not a night to walk unprotected. Halloween symbols, cats, mirrors, crows, candles, aren't decorations, they're survivors. The word bonfire once meant bone fire, animal bones burned as offerings, their smoke carrying messages to the ancestors. Witches were once healers, keepers of herbs and moonlight wisdom. When the church turned against them, every woman who lit a Samhain fire was suddenly a servant of the devil. Black cats, once sacred guardian of hearth and home, were slaughtered en masse. Soon after, plague spread through Europe, carried by the rats those cats once killed. Even mirrors became suspect. They were used for scrying on Halloween night, young women staring by candlelight to glimpse their future husbands. If they saw a coffin, it meant they would die before marriage. If they saw nothing, it meant the dead were still watching. The superstitions that we laugh at today were once rules for surviving the night. By the late Middle Ages, the church declared war on memory. They called old ways hearsay, and the people who remembered Samhain became something new: witches. The Malleus Maleficarum, 1487, branded their rituals as pacts with Satan. Bonfires, once meant to keep darkness away, were said to invite it. From Scotland's North Berwick trials, 1590, to Germany's mass executions, Halloween became a night of accusation. Those who had once prayed to the fire were now burned in it. And when settlers crossed the Atlantic, they carried that fear with them. The Puritans of New England outlawed Halloween entirely, calling it the devil's holiday. Instead, they celebrated Guy Fawkes Night on November 5th, parading effigies of the Pope and the devil and burning mockery. But the old ways don't die easily. Salem, 19 executed, 1 crushed beneath stone. Their crime? Speaking to unseen worlds. The shadows of Samhain had followed them to the New World. When Irish families fled famine in the 1840s, they brought their ghost across the sea. They carved turnips into lanterns to keep Stingy Jack's spirit away. But America offered a softer canvas, pumpkins, and the jack-o'-lantern was reborn. In post-Civil War America, ghost stories flourished. So many soldiers were buried in unmarked graves that people clung to the idea of restless souls returning home. Samhain had found a new audience. By the early 1900s, Halloween was wild. Children vandalized towns, overturned outhouses, and strung wires across roads. To restore order, communities organized parades and parties, turning chaos into celebration. In 1920, Anoka, Minnesota, held the first Halloween parade. In 1933, California built the first haunted house attraction, a Depression-era project to keep kids safe indoors. And in 1969, Disney opened the Haunted Mansion, making Halloween an American institution. Candy didn't dominate trick-or-treat until after World War II, when sugar rationing lifted in 1947. Before that, children were given coins, nuts, fruit, and fun-sized candy bars came in 1968, invented to sell safety in small doses. By the 1970s, Halloween had gone cinematic. Frankenstein, Dracula, It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, 1966, and finally, Halloween, 1978, the film that turned fear itself into a brand. And by the 1990s, Halloween went global. Japan's Tokyo Disneyland hosted its first parade in 1997. Ireland and Scotland resurrected Samhain torch festivals, and Mexico blended the visual poetry of Day of the Dead, and the world finally called October 31st its own. Halloween survived every empire because it feeds something older than religion, the need to make peace with death. Fear keeps us alive, but ritual gives that fear meaning. The Celts faced it with fire. The church faced it with prayer. We face it with mask, laughter, and light. Every Halloween, We repeat this same promise to remember our dead, to dance with the dark, and to keep the flame burning one more year. Even today, the holiday changes again with fog machines, digital ghosts, projection shows. But something ancient still moves beneath it. We compost pumpkins and reuse costumes, light LED candles in windows, unconsciously reviving the oldest vow to respect the earth, the fire, and the dead. I hope you guys enjoyed this little episode. Halloween history. What's your favorite memory of Halloween? What's your favorite tradition? What's your favorite snacks, beverages of Halloween? That's one thing about Halloween is tradition. And it's my favorite holiday. See you guys next time. And be safe this Halloween. Love you guys.